crazy, right? We should be virtual couples, we're all doing conversation. Or we should start off setting the top. Yeah. आज थोड़ा ठीक है क्योंकि जगह भी कम है ना आज. Okay, good to start, Jerome. Good to start. Yeah, I need my water bottle, but it's all right. If you don't mind, it's in the zip. No, in the big zip. Yeah. Just open the stuff, you'll see. Yeah. Just thank you, Tamara. I'll be sure. So we can go. You'll make it for Jane is not coming, right? That's what is the group. And I'm not following the WhatsApp group, so we can do it for it. Okay. Are we good to go, Jerome? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the day 13 today for the COP30 here in Belém. And today we have a very interesting topic: women negotiators and climate diplomacy strengthening the global leadership. Certainly, I'm so proud this is an all-women panel with a distinguished panelists from a variety of backgrounds. And so it's going to be very interesting, exciting, informative, and just whatnot. My name is Kalyani. I'm going to be moderating this session. I am an independent ESG and carbon consultant. I work with the fund managers, corporates, and governments. Recently released my book on carbon and blockchain here in COP30 Belém. It's available on Amazon. And I've also been an author for Article 6 for parliamentarians and legislatures. Released a book in Rio. This is my second time in Brazil in less than 3 months, actually. So I welcome you all to this panel. And so basically, this is a topic that is not just timely, but essential for me. Around the world, women negotiators, especially even here in the COP, are shaping the most complex climate decisions, often bringing a level of collaboration, transparency, and long-term thinking that strengthens outcomes for everyone. Yet, despite this leadership, women remain underrepresented in formal negotiations, under-resourced in national delegations, and under-recognized in global climate governance. So today is about changing that balance, not through symbolism, but through strategy, representation, and leadership. So firstly, I would like to welcome all my panelists here, and then would you mind just quickly introduce yourself to the audience? Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me again, actually. My name is Anila Noor. Originally, I'm from Pakistan and now living in Netherlands. I'm managing director and founder of one refugee women-led organization, which is very unique in its approach. We are using advocating for inclusive policies led by and for refugee and especially for women, new women connectors. And I'm super happy to be here to share my experience and to create a pathway we really need and why we need leadership for women.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I am Renata Vilarinho from Instituto Giro. I work with circular economy, and I'm really, really glad to be here with you. I prepared some notes, and in advance, I want to share that I'm not so fluent in English, so to me, it's the first obstacle that I face is to be here, but women leadership is about this. Face our monsters every day. So I am very glad to be here with you.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Tamara Ba. I'm a climate lead at Georgetown's Institute for Women, Peace and Security. And I'm also a consultant at the World Bank, where I've worked on climate, circular economy, and really integrating and making sure that women are leaders in local governance structures, disaster risk management committees. So really excited to be here. Thank you.
Jerome, do we have one more mic? One more. So to start off with, my first question is to you, Renata. Start off with, in the middle, So what strategies, from your experience and opinion, what are the most important strategies that are effective and actually just working, not just effective, but actually working in advancing women's leadership in climate negotiations? Thank you.
I will read some notes. I think the advancing women leadership requires actions on three fronts: capacity building, visibility, and institutionalization. And in this context, I am very proud to have created this year personal mentorship that's called Regenerative Voice, that supports women's with work with the environmental issues. This project was born from a prior experience. I am an environmental lawyer and I work 18 years with this. And I always work for pollutant companies, more than 10 years, because it's the pollutant companies that pays the salaries. And this is a very frustrating situation for all people that want to protect the environment. So we start to protect the environment, but unfortunately, we have a lot of space that we don't develop our ideals. And then I created this program, this mentoring, because 5 years ago I did a deep revision in my work and personal life, and now I am supporting other women to do this this transformation in their lives, and the mentorship of talk about negotiation skills, communication, curriculum, network, how to get visibility on LinkedIn. But I think the most important issue is self-confidence, courage to deal with the everyday challenge. So I think this is the main issue that we face every day, and have support of each other, have a network of women with aims to work with environmental issues.
Thank you so much, Renata. Tamara, over to you next. I mean, given your experience and, with the World Bank, on the structural barriers to women negotiators, your recommendations from a recent policy paper published last week from the Georgetown Institute for Women, Peace and Security. Can you highlight the women negotiators, especially from conflict-affected, indigenous and low-income countries, continue to face structural barriers to fully participating in climate negotiations, and what concrete steps can COP30 and UNFCCC take right now to institutionalize this gender balancing negotiating teams and ensure that women negotiators have equal access to closed door sessions? I mean, personally, I feel very biased, when women are not allowed, in the closed door sessions and technology briefings and leadership roles within the negotiation blocks. And it's quite a lengthy question, but I hope you could break it down and provide us some insights. Thank you.
Sure, thank you so much. So from our recent, Georgetown Institute Women, Peace and Security, so I had a policy paper that came out, and so from that research, I think what's clear is that women aren't underrepresented because they don't have talent or they don't have expertise, right? It's because they're underrepresented because of structural and logistical barriers that the UNFCCC actually has the ability to change. So I just wanted to kind of give 3 actions that I think could be achievable and could possibly be embedded in text. So first, I think it's important to require parties to submit a gender-balanced delegation ahead of COP with a at least a minimum target of 40% of women in leadership and technical roles, and not just only as observers. So we already mandate reporting on finance, on NDCs, and I think that the same can be done for representation. Second, institutionalize gender expertise in negotiation rooms. So that means placing gender experts on thematic tracks, particularly adaptation, loss and damage, of course finance. Finance is very, very, very important.
It's the most critical ones, like out of all of it, yeah.
Exactly, I definitely agree. And Article 6 as well, so that women's climate security needs and the frontline realities aren't treated as afterthoughts. Third, I think COP can direct the Secretariat to remove participation barriers that disproportionately affect women, especially Indigenous women and women of other intersectional identities. So this includes, funding support for travel, childcare, and streamlining coordination and guaranteed access to those closed sessions, as you mentioned before, for all accredited negotiators, not just senior officials. So these, for me, and I think I speak, for all of us, these aren't just symbolic measures by any means, but they are structural reforms that shift who gets to influence climate action and outcomes and who is protected by them.
That's great response. Thank you so much, Tamara. Anila, over to you. Thanks again for coming, gracing us. So, how will you ensure that the seat at the table for marginalized communities leads to tangible policy changes rather than just symbolic inclusion? I mean, it's frustrating even for me, even in the COPs, like even this big kind, this very big events. It just goes very talking, but nothing on the ground. How do you like to look into this? Yeah.
Yeah, before answering your question, I will say, if we close our eyes and if I say, just think about refugee women, I can bet we will see women crying, asking for help, holding their child on their boat. They're just looking for help and support. Actually, that's what happens when we are advocating for vulnerable community. We devalue their potential. So I lost my voice, but I had my voice back. So this devaluation, when we are talking about vulnerabilities, we don't think these vulnerable communities, especially women, they have potential to lead. We take them as a beneficiary, we take them as a victims, and this system, I totally agree with you, this system is putting this woman as a, okay, these are the data group we are need to support, we need to help. And we not only devalue, dehumanized. So in this system, how we can leverage our leadership, how we can leverage, we can have a seat on the table, we have a full potential, we have a full right to take the lead, to participate, but unfortunately it's not happening because of structure, because of culture, because of different intersectionalities when it's come to leadership of women. Secondly, I think when we are asking for leadership, especially for the vulnerable communities and especially for women, I always say how we are investing flexible to promote their learning, to promote their exposure to the system, to get more mentorship, because there's no role models where they can see, oh, they did that, they had family, they have children, but still they managed to lead. But unfortunately, if I give you my example, when I have a children, I have to give up my job just to, and this is become normalization. That we need to make abnormal, and we need make sure we're not giving a favor. Come on, we are not. Women need extra ask because it's their womanhood. We can't compete, okay, men don't need it, so we don't need to put it. So we really need to think how we can relearn, restructure the system so we can put women need as a important. It's not a favor to women.
That's a great response. And Renata, over to you. So, given what Anila said just now, I mean, how can barriers that limit women's participation in multicultural climate forums be removed? And what is the role of capacity building programs in strengthening women's negotiation skills? Personally, for me, I've seen this a lot, where I've seen underprivileged women think it's only the privileged women, somebody who has got education, degree, and awareness can actually go to the conferences like COP, but the others are disadvantaged and just backseated. So how that could be changed, because I'm sure they have the role to play as well. How this could be changed? Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Thank you for the question. And here in Brazil, we have a very curious fact that in circular economy, about 70% of the people that work with circular economy are women. And these people work with recycling issues, but the decision makers are still men. The men are invited to talk in big events, to participate in the men forums, and we need to remove these barriers, like you said. Thinking about that, at Instituto Giro, that I represent here, we are developing a program that's training 100 of women, with speakers in negotiation, contracts, business management, communication, and public relations. To make this project be real, I need to convince the board of my company and it was not a easy, very easy job, but I bring data, and I bring also the sensibilization to the gender agenda, because I believe when we empower women to participate in the decision spaces like this and like in circular economy, we make things different from the business as usual. And it's time to make things different because we need different effects and results of our action. So there are not only technical tools that we work in this project. We work with the empowering women with self-confidence and self-esteem. That's very important. And I noticed also, I want to point out that here in COP 30, a group of powerful women launched the Women's Letter for COP. I don't know if you have noticed about this. And this is a very nice example of national mobilization to place women in the center of the climate decision. This letter, we can look at the internet, brings key climate governance proposal that I want to mention, like provide sustainable financial and technical support, provide minimum representation for women in executive and leadership roles, ensure qualification and diverse female presence in climate space, and guarantee the financial support to women participating in this agenda.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Sorry. So, Renata, thank you so much for that kind response. Tamara, over to you next. So, on building and sustaining negotiation capacity. So, I think negotiating is one thing, but sustaining negotiations is totally different animal together. As a part of the Georgetown's Institute for Women, Peace and Security, and then the policy paper you were mentioning, you recommend in your recent policy paper to create a dedicated pipelines, fellowships and mentorship programs that prepare women for technical, legal and leadership roles within climate negotiations, which is fair enough, I think, and how can a COP30 encourage parties, regional groups and then UNFCCC to adopt long-term capacity building systems that not only get more women to the table, but ensure they shape agenda setting, drafting and final decision making across negotiation tracks? I mean, for me, I've been here for the last 2 weeks, I still don't see that many women still in the negotiation rooms. But maybe better than compared to last year, but still more could be done. So how do you envisage this? Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your question. So one of the core findings of the policy paper is that representation is only one piece of leadership, of the leadership pipeline. And so women negotiators also need the sustained, as you mentioned, the sustained and long-term capacity building, the mentorship and the institutional backing to participate on, equal levels to their peers. So I wanted to give kind of three maybe long-term practical approaches, that COP could perhaps champion. So first would be to establish a formal women's negotiators fellowship program under the UNFCCC, modeled after diplomatic academies. So this would be able to train early to mid-career women, especially from very climate vulnerable states, fragile conflicted states, or even small island states in negotiation strategies. Helping supporting with legal text drafting, coalition building, and procedural rules. And I personally think that this is like the most effective way to kind of widen the pool of women and to have them prepared for leadership roles. The second is to embed mentorship arrangements within negotiation blocks. So for example, ILAC, IGN could adopt internal rules requiring the senior negotiators to mentor the junior women negotiators across the full cycle, so pre-COP all the way to the plenary floor. And I think that this, and you were mentioning like building the confidence, and I think that that helps build the confidence, build the continuity. You see that, you've been seeing these people for months, and you get to, be confident, and you see them, and you can speak up for yourself and speak up on behalf of your country. Third would be to integrate gender responsive leadership outcome based indicators. Or perhaps using, we talked a little bit before about results-based financing or performance-based contracts to climate finance mechanisms. So when major funds like the Green Climate Fund or the Adaptation Fund could reward or incentivize parties to demonstrate women's leadership in national delegations and technical bodies, that could then create an incentive structure that goes beyond rhetoric. And then lastly, so through my work, so I've been talking a lot about the policy paper that I recently wrote at Georgetown, but through my work at the World Bank Group, we know that the goal is not just adding women into the room, right? So, for example, so you can ensure that women are in the room or that there's a quota, but maybe women don't speak, so that's not really leadership, right? And so I think the goal is for women to be active agenda setters, shaping priorities, drafting those texts, negotiating the final compromises that define kind of the global climate policy. And I think achieving that requires treating female negotiators as a strategic investment and not, a social add-on or an afterthought, as we had spoken before. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Tamara. Anila, over to you next. I mean, what is the specific definition of just an inclusive transition that your project is working towards? Do you want to provide any brief example to the audience? And thanks, yeah.
Sure. I will give an example, the work which we are doing actually at New Women Connectors. When we are giving the understanding and advocacy of just transition, we are literally unpacking what does it mean for the community so they can involve, because just transition is not happening in the space, right? It's happening with the communities, it's happening in different institutions. But again, as I said, we are not thinking about those people who are not on the table. So we are literally trying to simplify the terms, the technical language for the community so they can part of this just transition movement. But also we are trying to advocate, which is really hard, than me, like how hard it is, because INGOs and UN structure, they are not very flexible to work. So we are literally trying to raise awareness and advocacy there, like why people, especially women, have to be part of this just transition implementation planning, before planning, and then how they can become a partner in this implementation. Because it's simply like this: if I'm get sick and you go to the doctor and you just say, I have this problem, but I'm taking the medicine, but it's not helping me because it's not my definition, it's not my problem. So that's what's happening in the transition of the green just. We are trying, what does justice mean? For whom? And how we are defining with the using intersectional age and gender and diversity lens to make this gender transition a proper transition. Especially when it comes to EU policy of the Green Deal, we are making sure is that it should be Green Deal, not a business deal. So we are trying to advocate for that, but it's hard because we, as a women-led organization, after this funding cut, we all really get be impacted, and then we are still doing what we can do. But the thing is that the progress has been stopped, unfortunately.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, that's good to know. And then Renata, over to you. So we're talking about this gender responsive leadership pathways, but how do we institutionalize within climate diplomacy structures, especially in the Brazil, given you're a Brazilian? Could you talk about one solution that you're involved in Brazil in mentoring the women? Just one really. So
here in Brazil, we have a great experience with the circular economy policy that was made by women, and we are very happy to put in the policy article that brings the gender agenda And also in the National Plan for Circular Economy, we integrate the gender responsive vision, and this is a historic achievement. Um, let me mention some specific objectives that we put in this, we happily put in this policy, like ensuring gender integration into national and regional circular economy policy and reducing gender inequalities, strengthening leadership among waste speakers, organizations, represent human in public forums and decision making. So we are a group of 200 women, and now we are creating the She in Circular Economy Institute to guarantee these objectives of the policy will be
Great.
done.
Great, thank you. I mean, Tamara, I was just wondering, given your background, would you want to just take one of the Agnes questions? I know she's not in here today, but I just wanted to know, I mean, can you just share one reflection of female leadership in sustainability and environmental policy roles within the business? I mean, given your background, I mean, do you want to just advocate what could be that one reflection point would be? And then any examples, and then we can go to audience for the question.
That's a great question. That's a great question. So, in reflecting, I think, I mean, maybe I'll even just speak to the Gambia and just to speak to all of our amazing female lead negotiators. I mean, it has been really, I mean, we have a female lead negotiator in loss and damage and gender.
I was with the loss and damage with Gambia with Mariama. Yeah.
Exactly, and I think it's just really powerful to see that, you know, along with what you were mentioning, with all the unpaid, you know, care work, the labor, that women care very, very much. And I think this is just a pull for investing in women is just smart economics. And it's not always about economics, but I think when you integrate women into leadership roles, everyone prospers. You know, and so it's to really to think about that. And so just a special shout out to the Gambia and our honorable minister too as well, who is the co-facilitator chair for adaptation. So it's just really great to see all these powerful women standing up and speaking on behalf of a very small country in Africa. So thank you.
That was a great response. And does anybody wants to have one liner before we audience for the questions? Do you have any questions to ask? Yeah, carry on.
Hi, my name is Olivia Kutka. I'm a student researcher from Indiana University in the States. I want to thank you all for this panel today. I found it really interesting for my research. Me and my friend here were kind of discussing we have very similar research and kind of examining this pushback that we've seen in the world against women, kind of as this like right wave has happened. And in the UNFCCC reports on women's participation, you can see that it's also declined in recent years, where there's not as much balance in the party delegations. And I was just wondering if you could kind of speak on maybe why that is, why that's been happening, and then how it impacts like the negotiating rooms when the party delegations are not meeting balance.
Thanks, great question, and all the best in your research. So in some of the research that I found from our policy papers, that the stagnation, so basically, despite growing awareness, like women's voices are systematically underrepresented at the highest level of climate negotiations. But I think the main thing is that there's the pre-existing social structure, so patriarchy, things like that. That is kind of what's having those numbers kind of stay low for women's leadership. So I think many delegations face those practical barriers too as well, but I think a lot of it is kind of those pre-existing gender barriers, unfortunately. So I think that's what I would say to that. Thanks.
Yeah, well, I think what happened or happening right now, as you said, backlash on women's rights or LGBT community rights, is actually a sign for us to make our own system. because the system we are living in is working perfectly because it's to benefit the capitalist, benefit the colonizer, benefit the man and privileged people, benefit the Western communities. So it's a sign we women-led organization, women power, women leaders need to work together to create our own system. We need to advocate for the shift in the power dynamic. We need to advocate not to as I said, it's not a favor to us as a woman right. We are not asking for make our own some benefit, but we are asking because everyone is suffering in this world today. Look around us, what is happening every part, conflicts are happening. We have a disaster of climate which is still today not been recognized. So it's about how we can take the lead and the power in our hand to the feminist leadership, and it's required to work together. Otherwise, we will be divided, and we were divided. If you see, few centuries ago, we were divided, being colonized, and how is benefit goes to a few certain communities in certain countries. And this is happening. We literally need to create a coup to start reclaiming what is our right. And we are asking for everyone who is living behind. If we are not asking for one myself or only for yourself, when we go as a feminist leaders, we go together.
Hi, yes, thank you again for this panel. And I had a very similar question, but I'm going to ask a different question. Last year I attended COP29, and my other women classmates and I actually filed a report to the UNFCCC for harassment because we faced a lot of stalking, a lot of misconduct from male delegates. And I was just curious on how your organizations focus on breaking down the barriers within the actual COP venue, the actual COP space, and kind of your views on that, as not only do we need to really embolden women before coming into this COP, but how can we keep women coming back? I know I almost didn't really want to come back this year, but I was like, that defeats the point of what I'm fighting for. And just really ensuring women's safety. Have you noticed a difference in also the presidency this year addressing it? I know there's an actual app where you can report sexual harassment. It was kind of an opening letters and emails, and I felt like it was more addressed this year within the Brazilian presidency than the COP29 presidency. But I was just curious if you had any views on that as well.
Yeah, I will just want to share. Thank you so much, and so sorry what you faced last year. It's horrible, and we need to acknowledge. And thank you so much for your encouragement. Like, you didn't just sit silently; you took the action. This year, I will say, in the system of overall, it's so difficult for us, to ask. But what we can do, as I said, as a grassroots level or community-led organization, we are creating well-being forum. When we are bringing the delegation from different community, and they all are refugee women from different, we make this well-being forum where we are asking what they need already, how they can be feel human, how they need their safety, what they need health-wise, psychological-wise, social-wise, economical-wise. No one is doing that. But we as a woman, when we take some, guests with us, we take care of them. But in this system, I have no idea how they even think about this safety. But that's why I'm saying we are letting ourselves failure because we are not planning or have the control, neither power, how this system is working.
I also want to echo that I'm very sorry that happened to you, and that's horrible. So I like to talk about practical recommendations and things like that. So I think maybe something that we can all do is kind of advocate for anyone who's coming to COP or going to COP has to take sexual harassment training, sexual exploitation and abuse training, and has to sign a code of conduct, or that says, if you see these things going on, you must report, and if you don't report, there will be action taken against you. I think that that's really important, and it really kind of teaches people that you have no tolerance for that, and that you will be in trouble, and we will
make sure that you're punished. So I mean, I think that that's something that maybe we can advocate for. Maybe we come together and we, draft a statement, or we draft a statement with a few recommendations, and we can send it up to the UNFCCC. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about the situation, and actually I don't know what the government of Brazil, if they have a policy. Yeah, I, I cannot answer in a proper way, unfortunately. But I think we need to occupy this space much more and more, because if men don't think about this policy in this situation, we need women in this place to think about the strategy that we need to be here. So we need to make a great network, and I'm really happy to be here with you doing this now.
Do you have any more questions? Any thoughts to share? Yeah.
I just have a quick question. If you would be able to maybe speak on sort of the things that women negotiators have to consider that their male counterparts might not have to in the negotiating rooms.
I think a part of it is just, when you're a woman in these rooms, that they just assume that, like, you're the gender person, everything is on you and on your shoulders. And I think that, for men, I mean, at least I can't speak for them, but I think that that's kind of what female negotiators feel like, is that whenever gender is mentioned, even if they're a loss and damage, focal point or lead negotiator, that everything gender has to be on them, and that's a lot of pressure to put on, a person just because of their gender or their sex. So I think that that's one thing that I would say on that.
So obviously, any more questions? Jerome, do you have any questions? Adam, do you have any questions? Oh, sorry. Okay. So with that being said, my key takeaway from this panel, my vision statement is a future where women have equal access to finance and markets is not a dream. I mean, it is the fastest pathway to resilient communities, competitive green industries, and climate smart development. And women are not beneficiaries, in my opinion. So obviously, they are co-creators of resilient green economies. Obviously, let's invest in them, partner with them, and design value chains that reflect their leadership. And finally, let's choose that future together. Thank you once again. Can I please request a big round of applause for my distinguished women panelists? Thank you so much.